Alrighty, so with chapter 236 of the Jujutsu Kaisen manga behind us, I wanted to make a video discussing the future of Gojo and why I think he will survive and or just return in general, and give my reasons for this, which I saw in the chapter. One thing I wanted to mention is that he's not actually confirmed to be dead at all, and we actually see him somewhat smiling after Sukuna says he'll never forget him for as long as he lives, so he's seemingly on death's door for certain, but I don't believe it was ever confirmed in the last chapter, which is something that I think I mistakenly said in the spoilers video. Moving on though, after Gojo gets cut in half and he's having his visions of his high school friends, Nanami says to him something super interesting, which is pretty much the basis of my theory here. What he says is that Gojo has two options now, those options being heading north, finding a new side of himself, or going south and staying the same him. Now, what I think this could be referring to is, well, for one, having an awakening similar to what he had against Toji, where there on Death's Door he was able to learn reversed curse technique as well as red and then hollow purple. He came back stronger than ever, so that could be the first option, essentially just a repeat of what we've seen against Toji, where on Death's Door he comes back even stronger. He gains some sort of knowledge, some realization, etc. So heading north meaning that, and then in this case, heading south just meaning staying the same him, not growing in power. And now the other interpretation of this could be heading north as returning as a vengeful spirit. Now we've seen precedent of this with Naoya, I think his name is pronounced. He's the Zenin clan member that Maki fought when she slaughtered the Zenin clan, and then he came back as a vengeful spirit in the Culling Games arc and they fought again. So this option has Gojo returning as a vengeful spirit and again finding this new side of himself, which may be very different. It may just be very bloodthirsty and just out to kill Sukuna. That might just be his purpose here. Who knows what's going to happen after that. And again, going south in this case would also mean dying, staying the same person you were and not changing into this new vengeful spirit and finding this new side of yourself. The next indication we see in the chapter regarding Gojo's future comes whilst he's talking to his classmates about how he's honed his abilities to the utmost limits and used all of his creativity to further them and fight against Sukuna. While he's saying this, we see a lotus flower. Now, the lotus has a life cycle unlike any other plant. With its roots latched in mud, it submerges every night into river water and miraculously blooms the next morning, sparklingly clean. As a result, this has led it to have many connotations and associations with the idea and spiritual idea of rebirth, renewness, the act of cleansing and becoming anew, etc. Now, this sounds very similar to the idea of going north, which Nanami mentioned, finding this new side of yourself, and the fact that we literally see a lotus flower during the same conversation, I think, is pretty much saying that this is what's going on. On top of this, the vision of Gojo with his high school friends ends with him saying goodbye to them, seemingly showing that he's taking a different path. He's going to find a new side of himself and continue forward. Had he been dying, then I don't believe he'd be saying goodbye to them, as I think he'd be staying with them, at least in some sort of spiritual way. Another thing that could happen is that during Kashimo's fight with Sukuna, he's able to somehow use reverse curse technique and heal himself, and or Shoko or Yuta could step in and try to heal him using reverse curse technique as well. In this case, he may just survive, and then further on, he may have some sort of upgrade or get stronger, or this new side of himself could be one that doesn't fight. Maybe the fight just took such a toll on him. We're not quite sure what's going to happen. Nonetheless, though, I do think any of these would be pretty interesting turns to his character and continuing it, as I pretty much completely doubt that this is actually the end of Gojo. I'm really excited as to the state of the manga right now, and now just furthering this whole battlefield with maybe people like Yuta jumping in the fight after Kashimo. I know some people had problems with Sukuna adapting to Infinity and cutting through it, but I think the way it happened with him using Maharaga as a blueprint and his adaptation just to further it, I thought that was really interesting and a pretty smart way for him to actually cut through Infinity and not make it feel too much just like an ass pull. So yeah, that's it for these theories and ideas as to what's going to happen next. I do believe Gojo will continue on in some way, so if you did enjoy this video, please like, comment, subscribe, comment your thoughts. What do you think is most likely? Maybe none of these things, maybe you think he's actually dead, etc. Just let me know. I'm interested in seeing, and I'll see you all in the next one.